Time Sports is brought to you by Terrible General Health System's Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
And welcome to Bayou Time Sports with some great news locally. And here to help me out today is going to be Coach Kathy Luke. Of course, she was at Vanderbilt Catholic High School for 27 years. So remember that, because she had the privilege of coaching someone that we're talking about on this segment. She's at Homer Christian now, coaching over there. But Coach Luke, good to have you. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, so let's set the scene. One of your former players at Vanderbilt last night won a WNBA championship, which is incredible. And we're talking about Theresa Plaisance. And just to set the scene for our local audience, when did you first meet Theresa? Was it a young age, or older age? When was it?
I met Theresa when she was a young girl. She was playing AAU basketball. And I met her because I knew her mom, Doobie. And years ago, prior to Theresa ever getting into high school, Doobie said, you know, Coach Luke, if we live closer to you, I'd love for Theresa to play for you. Well, it just so happens that Doobie gets the job at Nichols, and she calls me, and they're going to move the family to Homer, and that's how we ended up being the lucky recipients to get Theresa.
Theresa was at Ursuline for what, 2 years?
She was at Ursuline her freshman and sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's Doobie got the job in 2009.
Well, I bet you were so excited.
What? Do you know where I was when they called? I was in Lake Michon fishing by myself, and the phone rings. And I'm like, doggone, who's calling me now? And I normally wouldn't answer it, but I looked and I saw it was Doobie, and she said, Coach Luke, we're coming. Listen, I was hooting and hollering on that boat in Lake Michon.
Well, that's incredible. But 2009, she came play for you, right?
That's correct. Her
All right.
junior year.
All right. So she spent 5 years with the Tulsa Shock, who became the Dallas Wings. Mm-hmm. 1 year with Connecticut, then another year with Washington, and she ends up in Las Vegas for the Aces. And what we'll do now, let's roll in some of that footage from last night's finals championship, and I'll let Coach talk over it, but let's roll it in now if we can. And Coach, you had to be so excited to see this.
It was exciting. I was wondering, you know, I wonder the difference from when she won the state championship with us to winning this. I wonder, you know, how she was feeling. I know how we felt that night, so I can only imagine how she was feeling this particular night.
And there you see the jubilation, and you see everything happening.
Yeah.
Isn't that just such a great feeling when you're coaching high school, and then somebody like Theresa comes along, and you see things that she has to improve. So if you're being true as a coach, you're not going to just say, Theresa, you have a clear shot, and one day you're going to win a WNBA final. You had to coach her, and you had to put her in some directions, didn't you?
I did. Theresa struggled a little bit her first year with me. She was able to do a lot more at Ursuline. She could float around. She could play guard. She could play forward. She could play post. And for me, we had a system. And Theresa was a good three-point shooter. There's no doubt about that. But I had good guards, too. So it was a matter of making her understand this is where we need you to play, and you need to be really good at this position for our team to be successful. And the great thing about Theresa that, you know, God gifted her with a lot of talent. But the one thing that Theresa has that is second to no one is, first of all, she's a very humble kid. And she's always looking to include people. She's a great team player. The kids on our team loved her. The students at our school loved her. She has those qualities that she has a contagious personality, and she did what I wanted her to do, but it was difficult. It's kind of like a kid. Well, when I can eat candy anytime I want, and now you're telling me I can't. Well, when I limited her on what she could do, because listen, if it was up to her, she'd shoot the 3 ball coming down the court every single time, But I made her mix it up inside. There weren't too many 6'5".
The Kathy Luke system.
It was a system that I thought would bring out her talent.
Right.
I put her in a position where I thought she would be most successful. And, she was, for us, in 2 years, she was Gatorade Player of the Year 2 times. She was All-State. She was the MVP of the state. She was the MVP of the state championship game. She won a state championship. She averaged over 20 points a game for us. So, I think, and she was a McDonald's All-American.
Yeah.
So I think, we put her in a position where she could be most successful.
And she ended up at a very prestigious university.
She did at
And
LSU,
yeah.
absolutely.
And played 4 years, I think. Huh?
She did.
Yeah.
She did. Her junior and her senior years were her best years. I think her junior year, she averaged right around 17 points a game, maybe 4 boards, and her senior year was right around the same amount.
Talked about her locker room skills, and you always felt strong that may be the reason that Theresa was loved on these teams, because her infectious personality in the locker room.
Theresa's a very, very humble person. She's very inclusive. And I remember we try to go over interviews with our girls when the media ask them questions, not to be about me, that we wouldn't be successful without each other. But Theresa had that skill down pat. And I think a lot of it probably was because, she was around it with her mom. I'm sure she heard her mom talk to her players about how you need to, do interviews. But Theresa, she made sure that if she was complimented on, you had 20 points, she would say, well, that's because the point guard got me the ball where I needed to get the ball. And so, she was never about me. It was, she's a team player, and she's been in the WNBA 8 years. She was drafted in the 3rd round, the 27th pick. So she wasn't real high, but she's lasted a lot longer than a lot of those girls that were drafted. And I really do believe that her locker room skills, she's a uniter. She brings people together, and I think that's probably one of her greatest assets.
But let's face it, let's be honest. Sometimes in a unique athlete, they get all the credit because they come from a broken home or whatever. But in this case, she came from such a solid family in Doobie and Scott that you probably see a lot of the reasons she turned out, plus coaches like yourself, but she had some good guidance.
Absolutely. If you ever had a daughter, you'd want one like Theresa. She's kind, she's considerate, she's smart, she's funny, she's humble, and she has all those attributes that as coaches we try to teach, as parents we try to teach, and that just doesn't happen. So, her mom and dad, they need to be commended for the young woman that she's turned out to be. And, I know I'm proud for her, I'm proud of her, and I'm sure all the people closest in her life, this is a proud moment for them.
Yeah, and just the fact that she's now a WNBA champion. I want to roll in some footage that we have from the Washington game, if we could, and that way I'll let Coach talk about it, but there you see her in action. So it's not like she just went and didn't play at all. She's got a lot of playing time.
Well, and remember, this is a player handling the ball, shooting the 3-ball at 6'5". Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's a move from a 6'5" kid,
Right.
So, yeah, she has she don't have to strictly, and there's a 3-ball, she don't have to play just inside. She has great agility, and she's special.
But when she came to you at Vanderbilt and you're seeing all this talent, and I know you so well, Kathy, that you didn't let her rest on any kind of talent laurels. You probably put her through quite a bit just so she wouldn't lay back on the talent she had. Is that a true statement?
That is true, yeah. You know, I've benched her, for not working hard. I remember one time Doobie came in, and I told Doobie, I said, look, she's not playing today. She had done something, and, Doobie was mad, but Doobie wasn't mad that I put her on the bench. Doobie was mad because of, whatever she did. I don't remember, it's a while back. I don't remember.
Yeah, a coach understands a coach.
Listen, you discipline the best, you don't have to discipline the rest. And so, there's no stars. Everybody has to do their part on our teams so that it's a team. If you make it a one-man game, it's easy to beat a one-person team.
Yeah.
And so,
But I'm sure she looks back now, and I guarantee you that thought process is really spinning in her head now that she's got a championship. And with it comes a lot of notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
Women's sports have grown so much over the years. She's gonna get endorsements, probably do different things. She'll be making a little extra money. They start reflecting on where they got it. Of course, they always go back to the parents, Scott and Doobie.
Mm-hmm.
But then the coaches, like yourself, it's got to make you feel good that what you saw last night, you were going, I coached her.
well, listen, when I got her, she was pretty well on her way. I can't take a lot of credit for her skill level, and God blessed her with an awful lot of talent and size and all that to go with it. I had the pleasure of having her on my team and being able to mold her and teach her that. I think if she would say one thing, that when she came to Vanderbilt to play for me, she realized right away that there were no stars, that she was going to work hard like everyone else.
And Theresa Plaisance is a WNBA champion. Yep, you followed her through high school. Coach Luke is my guest on Bayou Time Sports. You followed her at LSU, followed her through different teams in the WNBA. But let's roll in some footage last night, the trophy presentation, as Theresa Plaisance was in that group. And she's going to get the accolades now because she is a WNBA Finals champion. So let's roll that while I talk to Coach Luke. And it had to be special to see that one of your own was enjoying herself.
Yes. What a privilege, to have had the opportunity to coach Theresa. I mean, I can only imagine how it felt to lift that trophy up for her. I know how it felt when we did it here in the States. So,
Right.
Twice. That was a big crowd they had there last night. You
Yeah.
know, really big crowd.
And you know the feeling. It
Yeah.
doesn't get any different whether it's a state
You're right.
level or it's a WNBA. WNBA may get a little more money.
that's
They might be cheering for a whole different
yeah.
reason.
We got McDonald's after the game. When we won.
But it's something you can't ever take away.
That's right.
And you can always go with it. Let me ask you this, because, I think back at the stars. I mean, we had Carl Morgan when I played at Vanderbilt. His jersey's retired. Michelle Broussard was a phenom in girls softball, jersey retired. I would assume and hope at this point that the ball is rolling at Vanderbilt Catholic because we have a WNBA champion now. So I talked to two senators today, and they want to get her in Baton Rouge. They want to give proclamation and
Good.
and bring her up there and give her the accolades she deserves. There's a lot of work that goes into this, so I know you want to see her honored across the board also.
Yes. I've spoken to some of the people at Vanderbilt prior to this. I've spoken to you prior to this to try to get Theresa's jersey retired at Vanderbilt. I have both her jerseys. I have a McDonald's All-American jersey, and I have when I left Vanderbilt, I took her uniform because I just knew that there were great things ahead for her. And that eventually I had hoped, I mean, you never know, but I had hoped that that one day she would do what she was capable of doing and that those jerseys could be retired, and I didn't want anybody to lose them. So I took them, and I have them. And like I say, I have spoken to a representative from Vanderbilt trying to see if we could get that to happen, because she's been deserving way before this. You know, this just is icing on the cake, you know, and I think they'll do the right thing, you know.
Yeah, and it's obvious that this is one of those special cases. We all know who the special athletes are when they come through. You know, as you get older, everybody thinks they were the great athlete. No, there's only a handful that are the great athletes, and she's certainly one of them.
She certainly is, and you know, I don't know all the accolades that all the other athletes have from the past. I know Carl Morgan was a good one. You know, in my era, you know, Elijah was a good one, but Theresa has really achieved everything there is to achieve at every level, and so you know, I just know that her family's proud, I'm proud, and I'm sure the Vanderbilt community, once they hear about this, you know,
and
they're going to be proud.
I also want to make sure the playing field is the same, because Frank Lewis, who's endeared by this community, won Super Bowls at Pittsburgh when he was there, and he had a stellar career, and people love Frank Lewis. But I want to make sure it's not just the men getting on.
That's right.
This is a young girl who became a young lady, who became a lady, playing what used to be a man's sport, but it ain't anymore. It's the WNBA, and they work just as hard and they have the same passion. She needs to be honored.
She does. She does, and I think she will be. I'm gonna pray for that. You know, that happens.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we could, matter of fact, I'm sure if I bring it to Gordy Dove and Archie Chesson, there'll be proclamations there. I hope she has a big closet.
I hope so.
Or a big wall.
Well, I know. Listen, I know this. I know that her entire family, that the Plaisance family, is a very close family, a big family. They'll be at everything. They'll be at everything. They'll be so excited. You know, they take the party with them wherever they go.
Right.
You know.
Well, and it just, God, and I'm so glad you called, because I told you before, as I morphed into news years ago, I used to be just so much into sports, but as I went into news, I lost track of things, and you lose track of who's who, but you've been a big part of her life, so thank you for that. Look, she's a WNBA champion now.
Yes, she is.
And you're all smiles because of
Yes,
that.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
You had to pinch yourself this morning that it really happened?
This is what I hope. I hope that we get another one to come to Homer Christian. You know, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm maybe need to take my boat and go back fishing in, you know, Lake Michon, and maybe I'll get a call again.
Does Doobie have any granddaughters
I
or
don't-
great nieces anywhere or someplace
I
like
don't.
that? But once again, I want to thank you for coming on board. Congratulations in what you've helped develop in her, and she made a lot of people proud.
She sure did.
All right,
Thank you, Martin.
Coach. All right. Once again, Coach Kathy Lou, congratulations to Theresa Plaisance. World champion, I guess we could say it, right here from this area. So we'll keep you posted on that as she gets honored here in the area. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.